to check this one too?
No, it's good.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike McAllister. I'm the Director of Human Capital here in the Belmont Public Schools. Really appreciative of you coming out tonight. Just to remind you, we have two candidates tonight. Marissa Bayajian will be here at 6:30, which is now. And then we're going to give 45 minutes for any questions she's got. And then at 7:15, Lisa Williams will come in and we'll finish off the round there and we'll go till 8 o'clock. So the format is really just Q&A. Whatever you want to throw at them is fair game. Obviously, make them polite, make them respectful, don't get too personal. The bottom line is I want to just remind you that it is not easy to be a principal these days. So when someone comes to do an interview, it's far more public than any other industry. You would never be announced. You would never have 4 rounds. You would never have all these things. So I just want to remind them that people are taking a chance by coming in for an interview, and it's important that we sort of respect that it's not always the most comfortable situation. We had an interview with the staff this afternoon, so the candidates came in and met with the teachers. It was lovely. They were great, and I'm sure you all will be again. So the format of this is really just I'll bring the candidates in. I'll give a brief bio, basically what I sent out over email. We'll let them give like a 1 or 2 minute spiel just on what they want you to know, and then we'll start firing questions at them. There's another microphone, and again, the microphone doesn't project, but it's how the camera picks it up. This is recorded. What we'll do tomorrow is we'll release it to any parents that couldn't make it tonight. We'll release it with an online feedback form, and that will remain live until Sunday night. And then we'll take the video down and then the form down. On Monday, I compile all the data that we've gotten, and I give it to the superintendent, and she spends next week doing final reference calls, final checks, final decisions, and she reads every bit of feedback we get. So I have given you green forms tonight for the candidate 1, and then there's these goldenrod color forms for candidate number 2. You can fill those out, or you can wait for tomorrow to the link to come out, and there's an online feedback form. Either way, I'll gather all of it on Monday, and we'll collect it and give it to Dr. Geiser for her decision. Before we start, are there any questions that you all need to have answered?
Is the principal term just like, is it 1 year?
A principal contract by law can be no more than 3 years.
Okay.
It could also be 2. Typically, an interim contract is 1 year. Very few people are going to leave a current sitting position for a 1-year contract. So it's typically a 2 to 3 year. 3 is allowable by law.
Can they break a contract?
They can.
Okay.
Yeah, they can. It's not encouraged, but we try not to put them in that situation for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah. So what we're really looking for is a 2 to 3 year. We call it a permanent hire, and we just differentiate that from an interim hire, which is definitely a 1-year hire.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. Other questions people have? All right, so I will sort of MC the night a little bit. Marissa will be the first candidate. She may sit, she may stand. It's up to her. I'm going to go get her. She's just out in the hallway, and then I will bring her in. And thank you all for making the time to be here. Okay, I'll be right back. Here before, so I will give her her microphone. She knows this routine.
Yep.
And I will,
Hi, everybody. Hi.
first of all, just read the bio that I have from Marissa. So Marissa is currently serving as the interim principal of the Mary Lee Burbank School. Prior to that, she worked as an elementary principal in the Lawrence Public Schools, as well as in the Woburn Public Schools. Before this school year, she served as the Director of Human Resources for the Woburn Public Schools. Her teaching career in public education spans several decades as a member of the Lawrence Public Schools, where she served roles including classroom teacher and mathematics specialist. She brings a BS in psychology from Merrimack College in Andover, Mass., as well as an M.Ed in elementary education from Endicott College in Beverly, Mass. And we are happy to have her here among our finalist candidates. So, Marissa, let me just give you the first couple minutes to just sort of introduce yourself, a little bit about the work you've done, the communities you've worked in, and then we'll get to questions. Unlike the teacher interview this afternoon, there are no pre-planned questions. There's nothing planned ahead of time, so you will face the crowd as they come. All right, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And thank you so much for allowing me to get to this point where I can communicate with you directly how much I've loved my experience being here since October. It's been 7 months, but it feels like so much longer. I do feel like I've embedded myself within the culture of the school, the structures of the school, the bodies that make up such an amazing school. That's been from day one very clear that this is a school where our staff knows their students well. The parents know each other well, and it's a community of families as well. And you're deeply supportive and engaged in your students' day at school. So that being said, like I said, I appreciate the opportunity. Coming from Lawrence for so long, it's been, I was there 18 years, went to Woburn from there. Enjoyed my time as principal there before taking a leap to a whole new level in education, being in HR. Found very quickly that where I don't regret it at all. I enjoyed everything I've learned about it, everything I was able to contribute. Being back in school is where I needed to be. Being back in this position, being back in a school community is where I needed to be. Putting more stock into my instructional and building leadership. And this is a community that, like I said, hit the ground running at a time where everybody was already running. And kind of got myself here to a position where I hope to find my new educational and career home.
Excuse me, just
Yeah.
a moment.
Yep.
Could you please hold
I
on?
can, yep, sorry.
That's
You
fine.
want me to start over again?
No, you're fine.
So first questions, I'll hand you the mic, and either I can start with a question to break the ice, or if one of you has a question prepared, we can do it that way. Who wants to be bold and brave enough to go first? There you go. Here you go. I'm just going to ask you that. There you go.
You don't get mine, I have to keep mine.
I'm wondering how your experience as a classroom teacher has impacted your term or your time as a principal, if at all, and if you could speak to that a bit.
Thank you for that question. It was never my aspiration to be a principal, to be honest with you. My time as a teacher was probably the most instrumental time in my career. I started off as a preschool teacher in a daycare, found my way into a program where I could get my master's degree. Is that okay? Master's degree in education through my time as an aide in an elementary school. So I was fortunate enough to learn from classroom teachers who served as my mentors, and I got to watch and observe and watch their leadership styles within the classroom. From there, I was able to, get my master's and found my first career home in Lawrence. So with that, I was a fourth grade teacher for 6 years. I learned a tremendous amount about the community, about the structures, the way students learn from varying backgrounds. And through my work in Lawrence as a teacher, found my way as I went up the ladder to kind of being in a position where I could lead students within the grade. So that was really my first experience in leadership, was being a team leader for the fourth grade, which then, over the course of years, again, leaving the classroom was a huge issue for me. I didn't want to, but it was at a time where we needed math support. We needed someone to oversee a math program, and I was tapped to be that person. As uncomfortable as it was to kind of be on the outside, looking in, kind of seeing, recommending, providing resources and feedback, it just wasn't who I was. So I came up with a proposal to take on a class of my own as a coach and teach. So teachers would come in and watch me. I would find a select group of, at that time, fourth graders, and teach them math. And the teachers would come in and watch me, best practices. I could give them recommendations, but it wasn't me telling them what to do. It was me showing them what to do, and that feedback matched it. So I'll speed this up a little bit. So during this time, again, like I said, it was a time where it was respected that I would do the job, show it, and feel the need and work collaboratively with the group. And from there, grew into an opportunity to be the principal in the same building. Once my original principal of at that time, 15 years, moved into the assistant superintendent position. So I had the good fortune of growing up in the same school that I ended up principal at. Does that answer your question? So it was instructional leadership to have a greater impact on instruction.
Second question. You got one there, I see it.
And shoot.
You got it, there you go.
I apologize, I'm showing up late, and so
Nope,
if this
not at
has
all.
been
Thank you for
asked,
coming.
please feel free to pass.
Nope.
My question is, what in your experience since you've been able to be here guiding Burbank, do you think are the areas in need of biggest change and improvement? What do we need to
question.
do better here?
That's a great question. First of all, for my coming in, like I said, coming in to learn, looking to see, who we are, how we teach, who we teach. I feel like there's a great opportunity for, again, it's all, I feel from my learning here is collaboration, having people together, working together as teams. So I feel like in any school, you have a tendency to kind of get into, this is your role, these are your kids, this is your role, these are your kids. But I feel like there's a great opportunity to bring teams together from multiple roles to work with students of pretty much all groups to be able to do that. So that's first and foremost. And I think with that ability to bring, to kind of bridge multiple roles together for the success of one group or one classroom or in one individual, also provides that opportunity for more consistent, high-level, tiered structures of teaching to make sure everybody gets what they need. Yeah, does that help? Yep.
Next question.
Hey, Sam.
Hi. Could you describe your leadership style, but in the context of here at Burbank? So we have so many teachers who've been here for so long, and also we've also had a principal role that has been a bit of a revolving door.
Yep.
So in terms of what you could bring with your leadership style to Burbank, I'd love to hear that.
Yep, that's a great question. And to kind of go back to where you see, I feel the lens could be to make this an even stronger school is consistent leadership. So my coming in, I would describe and I said this before, as the word that comes to mind is resolute, is that I come in ready to be committed to high levels of expectation for our staff and our students. And within that, the support I can provide as an instructional leader comes first. A consistent support for both students and staff. Say the rest of your question?
Well, just more in the context,
Yeah.
like so many of the teachers have been here for so long,
Yep.
so I feel like they've got their routine and they've got their groove, and so how would your leadership style be able to?
So coming into a staff that absolutely comes in, they know their routines, they know their structures, they are highly skilled in being able to deliver that instruction to students in groups, in knowing them as individuals, how they learn best. So for me, coming in, I felt like, what else can I do? What else can I do to take them where they're at and see what more we could do to move forward, to kind of excel that a little bit. So with that, we talked a lot about infusing more accountable talk for students, kind of gradually kind of step back and let the students take the lead in dialogue and discourse, more open-ended questions, and allowing kind of what they're doing as direct teachers, leading students, but also guiding them and facilitating them to become more independent learners through, like I said, that open-ended critical thinking opportunities for them to be able to articulate, respond, write, and just speak their answers to a way that's kind of lifting the way that they think. Does that make sense? So any of the practices that I could help support and lending that next step, those extensions, I feel like especially with our highest veteran and talented educators, I feel like that's a role I could help with.
Hi. I have a question about your achievement during this interim, because you already have been working at Burbank. Can you make a case of one thing that you are proud of yourself, that you made a change or made an effort during your interim time at Burbank that either from any perspective, whether it's education or whether it's infrastructure, that you want to talk about, share with us?
Okay. I'm proud of the fact that I've kind of taken where the staff is now, where the teachers are, where the kids are now, and just kind of look to, again, without, my intent was not ever to come in here and say, let's change this now, let's blow this up and start this all over again. That's absolutely wasn't what I've done. Again, this is a school who, they know what to do, they know who's going to do it. They have all their ducks in a row. It's a very well-oiled machine as far as everyone knows what they need to do. So that being said, I'm proud of the fact that I've been able to kind of infuse myself when I could, to be able to support team dynamics, to be able to support teams and staff working together, to be able to do that and maybe create that kind of thinking shift and that dynamic as far as how we can go about working together for the betterment of our kids in a way that it makes sense and kind of, like I said, it lifts it and gives all the students what they need. I guess, like I said, I'm proud of a lot of things that I've been able to do, but I didn't have to be directly involved in it. So those supports, I think, for me have been great. Yeah, and it's just coming in as a support for our kids and getting to know them and coming up with learning structures, helping provide and support learning structures for our kids, and some, even tweaks to routines that made things flow a little bit easier.
Thought you might have one. You can count on you.
The shock. Hi, Marissa, how are
Hi,
you?
good.
I am just kind of curious about your take on community and family engagement and what that looks like here. I think for us as a family who we've been at Burbank for I don't know how many years now, one of the draws for us has always been the warm, welcoming environment here. And so I would just love for you to talk about kind of what you envision that looking like under your tenure moving forward.
Thank you for that, because like I said, I came in here respecting everything that's come before me, not wanting to change anything. It's been kind of what makes Burbank itself, whether it be the geography challenge, whether it be the winter musical, and things of that nature. Even when we added the turkey trot this year, that's something else that I feel like I'm proud of. We were able to add something new in there. In addition to what Sam and the PTA has been able to do to make sure we're bringing families together. That said, moving forward, I would love to and need to ensure that there are times during the day, a principal coffee, something like that, that I just have time with you. I have time with parents and engage you with them. Opportunities to have you in the school, interacting and engaging in your kids' class. I know that what I love most about what all grade levels do is they have an open house regularly, an open house, which I find to be fantastic. The kids are so proud to be able to show the growth in their own learning, explain what they've done. So as far if there's more things which I plan to do, can do that even over the summer, get everybody in together and just have just kind of a summer, let's get ready to get started. Those are things that I would love to be able to do starting fresh, because like I said, coming in October, everyone's kind of running and flying and that's flying the plane already. So those are things that absolutely I look forward to. Other things, celebrations of learning, whole school celebrations of learning. I've loved having math museums type of thing where the teachers work and they kind of just take it all, show it kind of in the gym or in a large space where we can have multiple families come in at a time with all grades represented, just to come walk through and see what the kids have been doing to bring, like I said, bring you all in to be a part of their school day.
Did your part. You did your part. I won't give you the...
Was there another part to that, or was that okay?
I mean, I have more questions.
Okay.
Other questions? We got 45 minutes.
Yeah, pace ourselves. Could you describe a little bit about your communication style as it comes to your communication with families or communication with teachers? Is it more passive or proactive? Are you an outgoing person?
It depends. I don't think I am.
Okay.
I don't think I am, but any and all forms of communication, I guess, work best for me. Emails, but direct communication, I think, works best for me. It's easier than getting caught up in email or, God forbid, it's been a couple of days and it gets buried in there. That kills me when that happens. But absolutely direct communication. Like I said, the more we can get families at large together with this kind of communication, the better. But otherwise, yeah, call it. Talk to me directly. I can talk to you directly. I'll call directly, because I feel like with email, absolutely, it's the quickest and easiest way, and do that as well. But I feel like those longer conversations, things that, means of communication, anything that might entail more, absolutely call, or we can always just meet up.
Maybe on that note. In the past, there was a principal who had like on every newsletter, like a feedback form. And for me, that was great because I think it was anonymous. And sometimes like I have questions, but I just want it to be a question, right? Not to like not necessarily even have to have an answer, or just feedback, just feedback, I suppose, not making you feel like, oh, I do have to respond.
Yeah.
Is that like maybe something you could
I think
implement?
it's an amazing idea, yep, and it
Like,
goes
just-
right along with that as I send out the s'mores newsletter anyways, which I'm telling you, I'm belaboring over right now, because by the time I get everything that I need to, going back and forth to make sure all the dates and events are there, it didn't save, so I have to go back and start again, so that's frustrating. I mean, it's an amazing platform to be able to have everything interpreted and all of that. But yep, that's that's a great idea, just to add that on there, and instead of saying, hey, any questions, give me a call, you wouldn't have to just throw it in there. Thank you.
It's also
That's a great
easier
idea.
to just know how to get to you faster.
Yep,
you know?
absolutely, thank you. I can do that right away. Before I send this one off, I could probably figure out how to do that.
Any other? Okay, we'll take turns.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what would make this job sustainable for you for the long term? I think the community is really hungry for stable leadership,
Yep.
and you have this unique experience of having been here leading our school, and that also may have given you a window into why some of our other leaders haven't been able to be here for the long haul. And so I'm curious about your perceptions about, is this sustainable for you over the longer haul, and what would you need to even increase your ability to do this effectively in the long run?
I think this has been, like I said, an incredibly unique growing experience for me. Just coming in here, just getting back into a school for me has been a tremendous experience for me, even at this point in my career. The opportunity, the growth that I've had, the things that I know that, moving forward, if I'm the one to be charged with the permanent position, that would be my platform to say, I'm ready to get going. I'm ready to be, if you're going to commit to me, I'm ready to get going and put forth some initiatives of mine and professional development of mine and ideas for what we can do as a group, as a school culture, to strengthen our relationships with each other, making sure they're working together as a team to make sure we're getting the best out of our students. So I'd be able to hit the ground running starting from day one to be able to commit to that. As far as, I was fortunate to be able to, like I said before, start in the same school and be there for 18 years under the same principal leadership. It's how I grew into what I am as far as a leader. She was also a mentor for me as a staff member growing up from my first year as a teacher to the day that she left. So that resonates to me that it's critically important, not just for the students to have that kind of sense of stability, more so for the teachers who, like I said, kind of been left to their own devices for a bit and not knowing what's going to be coming next year or not what they should stick to for what they've done in the past, or should they go back to what they did in the past, or should we start something new? So this also speaks to the uniqueness of this staff in this building, that they're able to do that, continue going and making sure your students get everything they need in the meantime.
Thank you.
You look like you're reaching for one. Some volunteer and some are voluntold, right? So you get voluntold.
I didn't prepare questions, so I'm just thinking.
I didn't prepare any answers.
I'm just curious how, kind of as a leader, I feel like, so my oldest is in 4th grade, and just, I think since after COVID, it's like, wham, like the kids are really being pushed so much. Almost like, I'm like, is this is this good? I don't
Hurry
know,
up and
just
catch
like,
up, yeah.
and is it just catch up? Will this level out someday? Or is this just the standard, like teaching to the test already and these young grades and homework, like 4 days a week, even for third, maybe second, I don't know. I'm just curious, like what you feel is that just the norm, or do you think that's appropriate, or how do parents or the feel that parents have towards things like homework and other things, would that even have a say in like maybe how the school culture and atmosphere can change, or is it?
It's a great point, and I wish I had an answer for you. I'm coming from Woburn during the time of COVID and coming back from it. There was absolutely a shift where, you know, we have the parents who are, you know, lay off them. They've been out for so long, lay off. And then you have the ones who are like, they've lost so much time now, we need to catch up. So I think there's also that spectrum. I think there's also been a greater push, like you said, to ensure that we're catching any skills that they might have lost during that time. I'm not sure if, you know, if the amount of homework has to do with it or if that's just a dynamic of classroom, but I think it's kind of all intertwined in there. I also do believe that there is a far stronger focus on making sure that children are emotionally safe. When they're in the classroom, they're not getting that anxiety feeling because it's too much. I feel like the safety nets that are put in place now are far, obviously, exponentially larger than they were back then. So to answer your question, I think it's a little of both. I do. I don't know if it's something that's going to simmer down over time, but I do think that the urgency to make sure that they are meeting that next standard, they're not falling behind those gaps that might have been there. We're catching them up to the extent possible, but like at the same time, we need to be cognizant of the impact it's having on them internally and
So
towards
do you
their
think that's
thoughts of
a
school.
school by school, teacher by teacher, like you are seeing the trends, the students, oh, they do need to catch up, then you make that decision, or is it kind of, we're gonna just do this because everybody, all the other schools are doing it, or we have to still be number 5 in the state,
No,
or like what is like
I don't know if
pushing-
they're kind of keeping up with the Joneses on that. I do feel like I think it might be school to school, and we try to, again, being a district, we try to be consistent with what other schools are doing to some extent, the elementary schools in particular. But like I said, every teacher has their own individual personality that they bring, and their structures and the routines that they bring to their classrooms. So, like I said, it could be a combination of both. They also have initiatives that are coming from the district and coming from me that they have to make sure that we're getting to these students to make sure that they are, like I said, that they are continuing to feel successful and be successful in school.
Yeah, I have a question about advocate for Burbank. So we all know that we just underwent a override, which Burbank was putting on the cutting board. So what can we do in your perspective if you become the permanent tenured, not tenured, but permanent principal? What can we do to prepare and make a case for Burbank to never face the danger of being closed?
I would agree with that. I mean, who's to say the next override, we're right back where we are, the next need for money, the next budget issue. Obviously, my advocacy, along with, I have no doubt that every member of this building, every member of this parent community would be doing the same thing. We need to be able to advocate for where we are, what we're doing here, to the extent possible. Like I said, if there's a need, and this happens to be the need, we obviously need to advocate for enough. We need to find another way. Let's find a way. Again, in my role, I'm not sure what that would be, but the advocacy would certainly be there to make sure that, we need to keep stability. We need to keep stability here. There's been ups and downs, whether it's been leadership, whether it's been now, Burbank is put up for, potentially being able to help out with the town's budget. But again, it's a matter of speaking up and saying, we need to know that this is not going to be something that we can expect every year, going through the stress and the frustrations and just the overall feeling of find something else, why us? And I know that was there, that was very real. It kind of went on for a long time until finally, there was that air of relief, it was gone. We'd like to think that that air of relief is going to remain, and we can, like I said, and we can continue on strong like, the other schools are able to.
Kind of going to the other end of the spectrum instead of fourth grade in terms of kindergartners and new families coming to Burbank, what do you feel your role as principal should be to all these new families coming in, and this is their first experience in public school, and throughout the year, what are ways that you would envision supporting families?
I thank you for saying that. I know you were here for that too, which was a very productive and very, for me personally, I feel like it was more refreshing for me because these are new families for the most part, and I'm new here. So I'm getting to know them at the same time that they're coming in. And, again, with the good fortune, hopefully, of becoming the permanent principal that those parents and those kids see coming in. So those I'd be able to welcome in, making sure that they're a part of our community, making sure that they feel welcome. I know we have the summer get-together with all the parents, so there's one way. And like I said, throughout the course of the year, my goal would be to have just me time with parents. At the same time, invite parents to come in with their kids to have like a kind of an open house with the teachers, which again, they're amazing at doing anyways, as far as bringing parents in, kind of showcasing what they've been doing. And that regular, the conversations and the communications are again, probably the best I've ever seen from these kindergarten teachers in particular.
Well, I just have more of a comment than a question, but I just wanted to let you know that I feel as a parent that I know you really well, and I feel like you're very engaged with the parents. I also, my children feel, I have 2 daughters here, they both feel like they know you really well. And you were involved in this veterans program on Veterans Day at the beginning of the year, and I really appreciated how you included families in that. And my dad was there, and he had so many nice things to say about you.
Beautiful, yeah.
But I also appreciate how quick you've been to respond to questions that I've had and any issues that have come up. So I think with Miss Morrow leaving, and I really appreciated, she was like such a go-getter in my mind. And I was nervous that we weren't going to be able to find somebody who was up to her caliber, but I think that you've done such a great job, and I really appreciate that you've been here with us this
Thank
year.
you. And like I said, moving forward, it's my goal to do more of that. Thank you.
Thanks for engaging with us in all these questions. I know they're not all easy.
Keep them coming.
What do you want to get better at in your job? What don't you do as well as you think you should be able to do?
I feel like, again, walking through the way that the structures are here, not only just at Burbank and Belmont, for instance, staff meetings. I enjoy getting staff together collaboratively. It hasn't happened often enough for me. From my experience in the past, that's something that I would hope to at some point, even if it's built in time, where I meet with teacher teams and things like that more regularly. Those are things that I would be interested in doing, just to, again, to be an integral part of the communications that go on between teachers and teams, and feedback that they can provide for me. And I guess the same would be for our families, to make sure that you have every opportunity to reach me, to give feedback to me, and I'd be able to engage with you in that same way, to make sure, like I said, we're building a collective collaboration amongst all of us. So those are areas that I would absolutely look to strengthen.
Thank you so much.
So we have time for about 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll give Marissa the last few minutes to close it.
Why is Sarah Pearson looking like that? So I know obviously that you have a wonderful background in math, but I am curious about your knowledge of literacy, particularly in K to 3.
So, yep, I got caught up in math for a long time. And, I have to make sure I keep dipping my toe back in the water of literacy to make sure that that's the case. Being back here, in particular, has really made sure that I got back into, like I said, my biggest fear has always been being out of teaching for too long, being in this position. So my goal is to make sure that I'm in there, I'm watching, I'm understanding what's going on, I'm understanding the curriculums. So coming in here, just understanding the scope and sequence of the curriculum that they're doing, the timing that they're doing it, the pieces that they're using from K to 3 to make sure that we're kind of keeping a curriculum consistent, we're using it consistently, and our kids, no matter where they're at, can expect to be provided the opportunity to meet the same skills as everybody. So that being said, we have our multi-tiered system that we're working well within. Just the assessments alone that we use to make sure that we're disaggregating data, to make sure that students are placed where they're supposed to be. So from universal instruction to maybe more pared down to fill in strengths, to fill in gaps, and then that more intensive instruction. So that would start, obviously, very early on with our with Heggerty and making sure we're using those, we're tracking phonemic awareness. We're ensuring that their phonics are strong so that they're able to build those words and build those fluencies that build into stronger reading and writing. So from there, we need to make sure that, I think the second grade is using foundations to build those strong, and now third grade is piloted this year as well for that consistency going up. So all that to say, these systems that we have in place where, we still have Reader's Workshop and Lucy Calkins and things like that, we're kind of piecing together without having one solid curriculum and one solid program. They're putting everything together to make sure that those students are getting their foundational literacy skills that build up to those higher reading and writing skills and speaking and listening skills.
All right, with that said, let me give you, Marissa, the last few minutes to just maybe highlight items from your resume that perhaps our questions didn't get at, or just express what you want to leave everyone with once you're finished. I'm just going to have you put the microphone down there. Sarah will walk you out, and then I will come back in and we'll talk a little bit before the next candidate comes in. So on my behalf, before I step out, I want to say thank you for coming. It is not,
Thank you.
I reminded them all, it is not easy to interview for principalship.
And
also not easy being a
If
principal.
that helps, I hope not to do it again.
But the fact that you are taking the risk and putting yourself out there and facing what I hope is a pretty friendly crowd does not go sort of unnoticed or underappreciated by us. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for putting yourself out there.
Thank you, I
today.
appreciate that. So on my final note, again, I just want to thank you. It's been, like I said, it's been such a rewarding time for me since coming in here. I was intimidated coming in back in October. I need to get my feet wet again. And just the welcome that I got and just the people coming to tell me what I need to know, what did I need to know, what about you, like what do you want us to know? That communication, it was welcoming, it was refreshing, and it was a relief, quite frankly. So it gave me kind of the comfort of being able to sit back and, like I said, come here and offer my stability here and say that, I am here. I am ready to step in and lead this school, lead the staff, the student and family community. And, given the experiences that I've had, I'm ready to continue on those and grow as your principal and as an instructional leader for your kids and for our staff. Okay. Thank you. And that's it, nothing else tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Give you a few minutes. Let me give you a few minutes to just fill those out. Again, I will collect those tonight if you want to leave them. If you don't feel like you have time to finish them tonight and you want to just mail them to me, you can kind of scan them and email them to me. That's fine as well. The key is I just need them by Sunday night because Monday morning I come together and I gather all of it. The other thing we will do is that we will send out an electronic form when we send the video out. And so it just has a quick link and it's just a Google survey. It's the same exact questions, the same exact information. So
Question, when you say they negatively address something, that can
Yeah,
mean
so
they
sometimes-
didn't touch on it, or it just
it would be
wasn't-
mostly like, did they say something that sort of really worried you?
Okay.
Did they address it in a way that didn't seem to match what we were looking for?
Okay.
That-
Does this have to be, sorry,
This, yeah.
from this meeting or?
Just from this. Yep, no,
Just from
just Smith. And you can comment on anything you want down below. It was mostly, I guess, here's the background I would put to that is that hiring committees can get really lost when they don't have a very clear structure. Usually we think about biases being things that we don't like, but in fact biases are often preferences we have. Like oh, they went to school where I went to school, or oh, they're from the same hometown as me, or I also taught 3rd grade. And those are all bad reasons to hire a principal. So what we did is we created what's called, what we refer to as like a criteria-driven process. So I established the criteria, we asked questions on that criteria, we scanned for resumes based on that criteria, and then we assessed candidates based on how they answered those questions based on the criteria. So just in full disclosure, I'm just trying to give you that criteria to say, like, this is how we did it. You can, hiring committees can get really lost when they sort of, it's this, we always say the dreaded word fit. You know, I don't know, they just seem like they're a good fit. And when committees let that happen, it's usually problematic because almost always there's some kind of bias behind that. If you're going to choose a candidate, you have to be able to articulate what is it about that fit. And I think fit is also a problematic term because it's often used to reject people based on something a little bit amorphous. So by really holding people to a criteria, and it's a little bit different for parents because you're not beholden to the criteria. I just wanted to give you a sense of like how we're trying to be structured in a way to really keep our biases in check. I mean, we all have biases, we all have preferences, but really bringing them to the surface and creating a structured process is really important to us. So I give you those in that kind of disclosure. If you don't want to refer to them, that's okay. Other questions you have?
It's very helpful to have.
Good, good. I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. No, I mean, we've done a lot of these, especially this year. So I'm getting better at these as they go on. This is my 5th one this year, and I think I did 4 last year. So there's a lot of. I was just doing a thing today that we were talking about annual town meeting. We were getting the slides together, and we talked about one of the tasks we had was onboarding new staff. And 10, so the entire leadership council, meaning every assistant principal, district level leader, is 36 people for the entire district. And 10 of them were new this year. And next year it appears that about 10 of them are going to be new as well. So 9 or 10 of them. So so it's a lot to get on board. And so us finding the right people, going through a rigorous process that is sort of criteria based, really helps bring on the right people that we want and those that sort of share the value that we have. So for sure. And they don't all have to be the same type of person, but they all have to have, you know, very committed values like us. So. Other questions you have? All right, well, I guess just to put a plug in, I did want to just say thank you for coming out. There's a lot tugging at you in the evenings, especially in springtime when baseball season and softball season is in full swing. It's not lost on me. My kids are grown now, but I know it's a lot to ask. And the fact that you are here is really important. I'm going to ask you to also promote the viewing of this video that Belmont Media is so nice to do. Because really the more feedback we get, the better the information, the more informed Dr. Guyton can make her decision. So she will also watch these videos, she will also watch the staff video that we took today, and we will also distribute that to staff as well. So what we're trying to find is, if you can't come, can you watch it on TV? Can you know, we're trying to give people as much access as possible. That's the last piece I want you to know. This process is not a quick process. There's a screening interview, there's a superintendent interview, there are background checks, there are reference checks, there's a staff interview, and there's a parent interview. And so those are 5 steps in the process that we hope are very thorough and very rigorous. By the time you get to a decision, we've had 5 looks at them, and potentially with reference calls, maybe 8 opportunities to sort of meet with the person or talk to someone who's worked with the person. So we are trying to vet it pretty thoroughly, but I can promise you that every piece of data we get, we give to the superintendent, and she reads every single one of them. So I promise whatever you write will certainly get communicated. You had a question?
So how much weight do parents have in the decision, like, you know, with all of the feedback?
Yeah, it's a fair question. There's not really it's not like a 20% or it's not like a metric like that. I think that what Jill is, and Jill will be here, so maybe she's better at answering the question, but I think she's trying to take a holistic approach, right? Because the whole point, I think, is we don't rely on one single source, over-rely on any one single source. But I think she's wise enough to know that parents as stakeholders have a certain thing that they're looking for from the principal, which might be different than what she's looking for, which might be different from what parents are looking for. At an older level, we might have students in there. It's less likely we would have students in here, but so I guess I can't put a number on it, but I can say a significant amount of weight. I mean, she really does want to know exactly what parents are saying. We've gotten some emails and she's already read those. Every piece of data I've gotten, she's passed on. And this specific activity, this is now the 5th time I've done it, because we've had 5 open interviews, she has read through every single piece of it. And so I think the parent piece is very important to her. She may be here to maybe give a metric a little bit better, but I can, with a straight face, I can tell you that it's really important to her and she does read all of them. and I know it's an important piece. We would never hire a leader without consulting with the stakeholders that are important, like parents. So, probably felt like a dodge, but I swear that's the answer.
How much of the teacher's opinion weighed into like up till this point?
Yeah, so our screening committee is made up of teachers, and
Oh,
we're trying to get a balance of special education, regular education, specialists, things like that. So the screening team is also the BEA, the Education Association, chose one member of that.
I see.
So I think we do a pretty good job of like who are the stakeholders within the building
Okay.
that should be in on that. That's the first piece of that. The second piece of that is that they were communicating, because this process took a little bit longer, they were communicating with that staff a lot. And I think that was important. Today, for example, they came in for the staff interview and they all had their questions that they created as a faculty.
I see.
So I do think the coordination's been pretty high.
Okay.
And then individual teachers have said, hey, I'd like to have a meeting with you, and Jill and I have both entertained those. So I think that doesn't necessarily mean everyone's all on the same page
Right.
necessarily, but I do think that there's been a pretty inclusive approach, and I hope at least people feel that and maybe I can ask the teachers, I hope people feel like they've been included in the process and they can give input to the process that will be taken seriously. I would say there was more faculty coordination in this school than necessarily some other schools. And sometimes just the culture of the school.
Yeah.
I think Burbank's in a unique place because they've had so many leaders.
Right.
And I think they are, and I won't speak for the faculty too much, but I think they are looking to find something settled, something formal, something that can sustain. And so I think that, I can't say to the other years, but it does feel like the level of involvement has been pretty high.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, let me go get the next candidate,
Do
and
you
I
want
will
these now or
say that
do
again.
you want these
I'll
now?
take them all at the very end. I gave them two different colors, so I can separate them easily, but. You want another one? All right. So this is Lisa Williams. Happy to introduce her to you. Lisa was here earlier today, and this is her second interview of the day. So Lisa is currently serving as the assistant principal of the Haynes and Nixon Elementary Schools in Sudbury, Massachusetts. Prior to that, she worked as an assistant principal at Fisk Elementary School in the Lexington Public Schools, which was her second stint in the position, as she served in the role from 2021 to 22, as well as from 2001 to 2003. Prior to that, for 28 years, she was a classroom educator in grades K2, 3, 4, and 5, both inclusion and general education settings, as well as interacted with some language-based learning spaces. Her education and training includes a BS in education from Framingham State College and an MEd from Lesley College, where she studied computers and education. Burbank is fortunate to have found such a motivated and well-qualified leader in Lisa to become our finalist for the permanent principalship. So Lisa, I'm going to ask, this crowd's ready for you. They have a bunch of questions for you, but I want to give you the opportunity to just sort of frame yourself, the work, the communities you've worked in, and then after you're finished, we'll ask you a few questions.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, hello, and thank you so much. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. I feel so fortunate to have this opportunity. So, yes, as Michael had said, I began my career in the early 90s, and through the years, I've taught almost all of the elementary grades, kindergarten through 5th grade. I know Burbank will be kindergarten through 3rd grade. I have spent several years in second, third grade, and 10 years in kindergarten. So I definitely feel excited to continue the journey as a school leader. Throughout the years, yes, I've worked very closely with specialized program and special education teachers and students. So a lot of experience there, which has been super helpful and has allowed me to continue growing as a professional through the years. So let's see, I spent 31 years in the Lexington Public Schools. Mainly, most of my career was classroom teaching, but earlier in my career, when Lexington was hiring assistant principals for the first time, we have 6 elementary schools. They were hiring 3 one year, and 3 the next year. And my principal at the time had asked me if I would consider working with him as his assistant principal, and he said, "Do you ever considered administration?" And I said, "No, no, I haven't." So I said, "No, thank you," but planted the seed. The next year, I did decide to apply at another school, actually the school where I was a student teacher 10 years prior, and so did that for 2 years. The override failed. I learned a lot. I loved it. I was still a young educator, so happy to go back into the classroom. So that's when I went into kindergarten and had a little shock to my system, and then stayed for 10 years and loved it, and then continued back into the older grades. So it's been great. I feel so lucky to have the career I've had. And so what happened is, once I decided, I am the mother of 2 young adult children. So I have a 25-year-old daughter. She's actually an RN at Children's Hospital, and my son is 22. He's an auto mechanic. So once he had graduated high school, that's when I thought, I still had that seed planted to return to administration at some point. And so that's when I went back and completed my leadership license. And and then in my school, at Fisk School in Lexington, we had, some administrative changes, and this interim position opened up of AP, and it was a fabulous year. I loved it. And then we were short one position, and so I was the interim. So that was when I made the transition to Sudbury, which is where I live. And so now I'm half-time in 2 different elementary schools, which I also love. It's definitely challenging being in 2 schools, and the benefit is I get to know and work with all of these fabulous teachers and educators, and know all of these wonderful children. And so, so it's been a great experience. And now I'm feeling really excited and prepared and ready to take the next step and really try to expand my influence even more and continue my journey of learning. So that's
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Who would
you.
like to ask the first question? Or I can just choose where we started last time.
Okay.
Count on me to be chatty. Hi. Could you talk a little bit about, so you've been an assistant principal, and then
Yes.
now the jump to be the primary
yes.
principal. I don't know if Burbank has an assistant principal, but
They
okay.
do not, right,
So
right.
coming into this role, knowing that you won't have an assistant principal and it's really going to be your leadership, could you just speak a little bit about like your vision and how that would be a challenging role, or you would embrace it?
Right, exactly. Yes, of course. Definitely will be challenging regardless. I am a collaborative person. I love to work with a team. I know the school will have a team, there won't be an assistant principal. I know Burbank is a smaller school. The schools I'm working in now each have, one has about 400 students, and the other has 330 students. And so there is the principals and I, with whom I work, it's very much, because I'm half-time in each school, it's very much shared responsibilities. So we do a lot of the same work. So it's not like I have, this category of responsibilities and the principal has this category, we really share the work and do the work together. So taking on the principal role, I feel that I've had a lot of the exposure and a lot of the roles that the principal is responsible for. And so, I will definitely lean on the staff in the school and the administrative team, whenever necessary, whenever I have questions. I am definitely not afraid to ask questions and reach out for help whenever, whenever the need arises, and it will arise. So I just, that will be my strategy, is to go with my gut and do my very best and keep asking questions and keep just checking and checking in with people and the staff and the community and the families and the parents. And, I'm very much a collaborator. So, yeah. Thank you.
Just a note, can you just hold the microphone?
Oh, sorry. I'm like talking with my hands.
No worries.
Sorry.
Second question.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
I was just wondering if you could speak to kind of your knowledge base around literacy in K to 3
Okay.
and what that looks like to you.
Right, okay. Literacy K to 3, we've been doing both in Lexington and in Sudbury, intensive training and adopting of Haggerty and foundations for phonics and phonemic awareness, and keys to literacy training. Sudbury, every single PD day was focused on keys to literacy, really incorporating the reading skills and foundations with other content areas and decodable readers. So really what's shifted since I've been teaching for a long time, and so what's shifted is I taught all, the Lucy Calkins, the Lucy Calkins Reader's Workshop, Writer's Workshop, and all through we were always supplementing, and because there was always the missing piece of the phonics and the word study, and so it was always like scrambling and an add-on, but not necessarily a regular part of the curriculum. And so that's what has shifted recently, which is really nice. And the science of reading has been around for 40 years, but now it's like people are like rediscovering how the manner in which children actually learn to read and write. And so I think it's exciting. So now all of the pieces, I'm really excited to, work in Belmont in a district where I'm sure, I'm assuming, but I have to learn. I don't know in terms of the journey Belmont is taking in adopting or using the literacy curriculum. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what draws you to serving in a lead role in an elementary school as a principal, and how you see that as something that you bring experience and skills to kind of move a school forward?
Okay, thank you. So I have always loved teaching and being, being an educator and being an integral member of the school community. I have always been all in. So whatever the endeavor has been in the schools in which I've worked, I participate in everything. I participate in the school functions and the community events. I participate am excited and help create and am excited to develop with the school community events that bring joy for our students and children. And so I just feel like what has inspired me to move into the leadership role is I just feel like I have a lot of experience and I would love to keep broadening my influence, frankly. Like I feel like I have a lot to share, and so I want to share it, and I want to continue working with educators and collaborating, and then moving forward and use what I have learned about. I've been working on my own practice for years and years and years, so I'm eager to share that and coach and help teachers really refine their instructional practice for the benefit of our students and keep everyone moving forward. So, for example, walking into a classroom, I would hope to really see the differentiated instruction and lessons happening, making sure that every single student in the class is actively engaged, and the lesson has been planned around each child, so that, so making sure that we're using the data to inform the instruction, and then really giving the children what they need. And so I've been doing trial and error myself through the years and working with all of those different grade levels I taught. That means I worked with all of those different teachers and teams. So there's been, in the professional development in both Lexington and Sudbury has been outstanding. And so now I'm excited to keep learning and then keep sharing and helping teachers grow and learn and help our students keep thriving. So, did that answer your question? Yes. Okay, thanks.
Hi, Lisa. I have a question about opening to feedback and utilize it to improve. You had a lot of experience working with the other two schools.
Yes.
Do you have any example that you got some feedback from the parents or the students, and that becomes the motivation for any changes at the school?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am definitely receptive to feedback and solicit feedback. Let me think of an example. I guess one way I consistently, receive feedback is whenever I meet with a child or group of children, whether it's for behavior or if we're just planning something fun, or they're going to be in the all-school meeting or whatever. If it's a behavioral, for example, something happens, and when I reach out to families, once I talk with the children and learn about the situation and perhaps reasoning behind it all, when I call families, I always, want to hear from them, see what they, is there something, see if there's anything that would be helpful. They know their child best, and solicit their feedback in terms of that, their child in that moment. And then, so kind of make it, we partner together to make sure that it becomes a learning experience for their child, and that we're considering different perspectives and different ideas. In terms of feedback I'm trying to think on a bigger, it's definitely a regular part of my practice. Let's see. Oh, one thing is when we have a student who struggles with school refusal, actually 2 students who struggle with school refusal, and an example of feedback this year was, I'm always trying to be helpful, and this particular child has, a behavior plan and a team of special educators, and we meet regularly regarding the plan. And so one morning when he was struggling, I want to be helpful, but in fact, I kind of messed up the behavior plan. And so, the parent called in, so we talked it through, and I assured her, and again, learning experience, I'm like, yeah, of course, everyone has to follow it, Even if you're the school administrator, you have to be on board and work together. So, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So.
Sorry, I'm taking it from you. Sorry. Hi. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
My question is, sorry, I'm a mess. Kind of what you had said, but how would you help a student, or how would you interact with a student who might be having trouble behaviorally, who might, say, have a diagnosis that needs more support and might be struggling?
Right. Okay. Well, first of all, the most important thing is I really need to know the students. I need to really take the time and get to know the students and be present in the classrooms and, be out greeting children when they're arriving in the morning and doing a dismissal and be out at recess and be in there during lunchtime and having the conversations with the children about themselves, getting to know themselves, and about what they're learning. And so it definitely helps if you have a relationship with the child or the children and you know a bit about them and you understand them. So if it's a child who, in fact, is on an IEP and has, specific goals, and I need to be familiar with them. I definitely need to. I do work closely with the team chair and the special educators in my schools, and so it depends on the child's profile. If it's a behavior challenge that, an altercation at recess or on the bus or something, I first meet with the child. I meet with the children individually first to kind of hear, what was happening and hear about their feelings and their reasoning. And often the child doesn't even know why. Basically get to know the root of the problem and or help them figure out the root of the problem. And then I definitely use a restorative approach. So if it feels appropriate, I don't want to have any child experience new trauma, but if it's appropriate, I always meet with all of the children involved individually. The child maybe who is the offender and at that time, and then the child who may have been harmed in some way, or children, often it's more, meet with them each individually, and then if it's appropriate, bring them together and facilitate a conversation where they listen to each other. The child who was being, not behaving appropriately has an opportunity to explain what was happening. And then the child who was harmed has an opportunity to share how it impacted them, how they were feeling and how it impacted them. Because so much is about, I just want to make it a learning experience. And often the children feel so much better, and it's kind of a real organic way of helping them kind of move past something. And then we talk about second chances and, I'm doing it again. I apologize. That's the approach. Sometimes we do have to have consequences, in addition to just the conversation. And again, it really depends on the situation and depends on the child. And it would always be related. So maybe a letter of apology, or maybe, it always has to have some relationship to whatever the event was. And then, of course, I always call, if I ever have a conversation with the child, I 100% of the time call the parents just to say, I spoke with your child about this is what happened. Sometimes it's just mild, and sometimes it's a bigger event. So, yes, thank you.
So when Burbank goes to K through 3, there's going to be some changes in terms of like rotating staff and specialists and things like that. How do you envision building community and culture, whether it's amongst the teachers or it's amongst families, and with sort of a shift in sort of the usual routine?
Right. It is a shift. There's of course, there's a lot involved with that. And so, one concrete thing I would want to work on is taking a look at the schedule. I'm not sure how, the makeup of the schedule, or if right now the teachers have common planning time with their teams, but I think it's really important for grade level teams to have, the same specialist time so that they can have those planning conversations and grade level conversations, and that's a way to really build their relationships and get to know each other better. Setting up systems so that there can be team planning. It's really important. I'm a believer in, really the collaborative team rather than teachers isolated in their classrooms. You always do better when it's the phrase is correct. More minds can do great things. And so also just embracing the community events, all school meetings, perhaps grade level meetings. I don't know, I would meet with the staff and have that conversation with the staff and see what, and learn, I need to learn more about the culture of the school and talk with the staff about what their needs and wants are in terms of coming together more as a community, and then also get to know the families and the parents and really get to know what your needs and wants are. Also on both ends, are there any things that, people are hoping can change a bit, or, and then also important, even more important is to really talk with the students too. I do a lot of lunch groups with students in my schools, and really to hear about, and in all of the grade levels, to get a sense of what's working for the children, what they're happy about, what they're excited about, what they're learning about, and then things, of course, they'll always have some complaints. And so just to kind of get a sense of how things are going for the children. So kind of listening to everybody and then working together to come up with a plan together. So that would involve also like the PTA or PTO events. And yeah. One thing I just want to mention too in relation to that is one thing I am excited about in my current schools that actually in all of my years has never been done until this year, and I'm not sure if the structure in Belmont, the meeting structures and so on support it. We have at the beginning of the year, we met with the staff, the principal and I met with the staff, and we really brainstormed about the highest priority committees. What committees do we want? Equity team, SEL, all school meeting, and there were five committees. There are 5 committees that were highest priority when we look at, and we started with the school improvement plan and our core values, and came up with the committees as a staff, and then we have one staff meeting a month is a committee meeting, and the teachers all gave their preferences, what committees do they want, they're most passionate about, so every teacher is on one committee, and we have done, I have to say, amazing things this year, because it's shared, the responsibility is shared, it's not just like the few same people who are available before or after school. Everyone is involved, and it has taken off, and it's such a great idea. So, the staff, everyone comes up with these great ideas for the community. So now we have community weeks in my school. So. Thanks.
Hi, thank you for being with us tonight. I would just like to I don't know anything about, like, I'm not much involved in the school, so I would like to know how well do you know kids in your school? Like, is that just knowing them, from the hallways, or it's like you know their names, or you know how they feel?
Right.
And the other question, or I will ask later.
Okay, so actually, I've gotten to know the children really well, like really well. And I know between the two schools, I have about 730 students, so it took me a while because I'm half-time. But my greatest focus is really getting to know the students. And so I do that by visiting I had mentioned earlier, I visit the classrooms. I'm present in the classrooms a lot, and out at recess. It's amazing how quickly you get to know the children and their names out at recess. And in the lunchroom, greeting them in the mornings. I go and, I'll go and read a lot. I make sure, at the beginning of the year, I will make sure I go and read aloud or play a game with every single classroom, just to kind of introduce myself and give the kids an opportunity to really start to make the connection and feel comfortable. And then what I do is once a week in each of my schools, I have lunches with children. And we kind of rotate them. Honestly, there are a couple of children who've been having lunch with me with their friends the whole year. But the rest of them kind of rotate through, and it's like a treat. I'll invite a couple friends, and then they can invite a couple friends, and then it ends up being like a little party. And a lot of times we just end up talking and chatting, playing Would You Rather, or talking about Two Truths and a Lie, or things like that, and or just playing a board game. So I do make the efforts to get to know them. It does take. I'm excited. Burbank. It sounds like it's a smaller school, and I would be full-time in one school, so I would get to know them really much more quickly. So I do. I love knowing the children. It just makes the work so much more meaningful. So,
for example, if you would come to some problem, which would be a huge deal for parents, how would you leave it sometimes like unresolved, or would you pursue it?
Oh, if there was a problem, like in the school, what kind of a problem? Like I wouldn't leave anything unresolved. By the way, I answer emails, I answer phone calls, I always am responsive. And if I can't answer it in that moment, I will say, I will get right back to you. I will get back to you by this time. You would get a response, but I don't leave things unresolved. I had mentioned if there's something behavioral, I'm definitely, I'm talking with the staff, the teachers, and the children, and the parents. And if there's a problem, are you thinking of a different kind of a problem?
Yes.
Okay. So
it wasn't caused by the student.
I'm sorry, what?
It wasn't caused by the student.
Oh, okay. So if you have a question about whatever, a staff member or something, or a dynamic in the school,
certain book being
a
read.
book. Oh, okay. So actually, we had a situation in my school. We do a book tournament, and we have an equity team that created, that equity team is one of the committees, and we created a book tournament. And each of the books, it was all about equity and diversity. And so, there were books from different cultures. There was books about students. There was a child who was discovering hearing loss and being introduced to a hearing aid. There was a child, things are hard. Different kinds of books. And so then there was a question about that, and a set of parents came in and were concerned about the books. They didn't like the books. And so we did have a discussion, and we listened and, explained that We always take feedback and input, and we can certainly modify books, but we definitely, the school values, we make sure they're in alignment with our school values and the state standards. And so we just want to make sure we're creating a school that is safe and comfortable and a place where every single child knows they belong. And what happens, so in my experience through the years, often, sometimes there's pockets of children who may have a different experience or a different background or some kind of disability or something that other people may not understand or have to ever worry about. And so those children sometimes just don't ever see themselves reflected in the books and in the curriculum and so now there is a push to make sure that every child can see themselves and can have things to relate to, and so that was the purpose. So we had the discussion was open and honest and sharing each other's perspectives, making modifications while also preserving what's important for the school community and our core values. We stick to the mission, the vision, the core values, and the state standards. So, yeah. Thank you.
Time for one more question. So if you've just been holding all night, just waiting to release this question, I think some of you, it's like, okay, I think this is my moment. You have literally, this is your last opportunity to do so. And then I want to respect your time, and we're going to get you out at 8 o'clock like promised. I want to respect your time because I know you're coming from far away. So.
This is a little bit of a tricky question, but just knowing that you have been in other districts that have more funding for things like coaching and curriculum and professional development and things like that, it would certainly be a change. Just listening to kind of your rich experiences and your very professional development opportunities and things like that.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering kind of how you feel like you would adapt and bring some of that knowledge base and skills to Belmont and to Burbank.
Right. Okay, great. It's really interesting. I learned that there's not a math, we don't have coaches here. You don't have coaches here. So that's where I feel like I would be a great fit because of my experience. I love to work with teachers and I love to focus on good, excellent instruction. And actually, an example, this year when I was in for an observation for a brand new teacher, and, it was just, just kind of watching the lesson and it was a math lesson and on word problems, and the teacher was proceeding, with a lot of verbal direction, very little visual and no manipulatives, and then I could see them over in the corner, and then he had a small group, and so I was just watching. So then I just, pushed my computer aside and I just went and I got the manipulatives and I sat on the floor with him and the kids and I just kind of modeled for him, without saying, I am modeling for you. I just kind of modeled for him, and then how to enhance the lesson using manipulatives for those students in his small group. And then after, in our post-observation conversation, we talked about the lesson, and then we planned a lesson together, and then he was set up with the math coach. But that's my excitement as a school leader, is to really be the instructional leader and coach. And so, yes, it would be fabulous to have coaches, and if we don't, we're still going to provide excellent instruction. So yes, thanks.
Well, Lisa Williams, you have survived the gauntlet that is the Burbank parent interview. So really well done. I'm going to give you the last few minutes to just maybe highlight a few items that maybe our questions didn't get at, or maybe bring up some pieces from your resume, or just close us out for tonight.
Sure. Okay. Let's see. So I think I spoke to like my collaboration, and I definitely, one thing that didn't come out that I just want to mention, I think I've mentioned it in terms of making sure every child gets what they deserve and need. As you know, I've done a lot of work with, you know, DEI and equity and the METCO program. I've been very involved, both Lexington and Sudbury are METCO districts. And so just very involved in terms of helping the staff learn about the history of METCO and the district's involvement with METCO, and then bringing in METCO alum who are adults, sharing their experiences in terms of the benefits and the struggles and the challenges, and then really bringing people into Boston and really learning about, you know, visiting the headquarters, and the CEO there, Millie Arbahay-Thomas, she gave us a presentation, and just those connections. I feel it's really important that we do reach out in Boston, and we get to know, you know, not just Belmont's community and know what we know, but also really make the efforts to get to know what the kids who live in the Boston area are experiencing too, so that we can make those connections and relationships as well. So that's definitely an interest of mine. So yes, but I'm really excited at the possibility of joining a school community. I think it would be so exciting and enriching, and it seems like a fabulous school and school community and district. So thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you.
Just in the remaining minutes we have, please take a few minutes to fill out those forms. I will leave the folder on the chair on the way out. I'll walk this candidate out to the end, and then I'll stick around if there's any questions as well. I also know I want to thank Dr. Geyser, our superintendent, for being here as well. And she may be able to answer any questions that I perhaps didn't answer very well earlier. So thanks again for making the time tonight. Appreciate you all being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.